He was a star high school linebacker with scholarship offers rolling in before he was wrongly convicted of a crime he did not commit. After spending over 5 years in prison and 5 years fighting the conviction, it was finally overturned, and he was able to pursue his dreams of playing in the NFL. Here's a preview of his story in a movie based on his life. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Brian Banks.
Brian, I'm sorry. I wish you'd have called us before you reached out.
Called you? You wish I would have called you? You know I didn't call you, Justin, because every time I throw you a pass, you bat it down, just like you're doing now.
That's not what we're doing.
Come at me with all these legal excuses about the system, about how the truth doesn't matter. The truth matters.
I know it matters. I know that. Okay? And that tape is extraordinary. I agree, but I can't do anything legally.
Okay, stop. Okay? Forget the tape, okay? Because I see what's going on here. You're sitting there trying to figure out how to let me down easy again when you know what, that's not going to happen. You want extraordinary? I'll tell you what's extraordinary about this case. I am.
Well, we're now joined by the man whose life inspired the movie that you just saw a preview from. Guys, let's welcome to Good Morning Football, former linebacker and subject of his biopic that comes out this week, Brian Banks. Brian,
Thanks for having me.
Before we get to the movie, we got to go through your story just a little bit. You had to make one of the toughest decisions imaginable. Even though you knew you were innocent, you pled no contest to charges of sexual assault against you in order to avoid a potential sentence of more than 40 years had you been found guilty. Take us through your story and what that decision was like and what the result of that was.
Yeah. To this day, the hardest decision I've ever had to make in my life. Do I walk into a courtroom and roll the dice and risk my entire life in prison for something I didn't do? Or do I walk into a courtroom and take a deal, a plea bargain for a crime I never committed? So that was tough. And being 17 years old, having to make that decision without, advice from parents or time to think on it. I was given 10 minutes to make that decision. So literally, I fought this case. I was behind bars for almost a year when presented this deal. And that entire year, just hope and prayer and just really just hoping that it would all turn out to be in my favor. And to be in that moment when I'm being told you're not going home. This is your only, the only choice here. It's still tough to think about today.
You served a 5-year sentence and then another 5 years fighting the conviction.
Mm-hmm.
After all that, after going through hell, what's it like that moment you find out the conviction's overturned and you're getting out?
Oh man, bittersweet. It was overwhelming to finally hear the district attorney's office and the judge concede to the matter, saying that I was factually innocent. And I remember just dropping my head to the table, just in happiness, but also just that thought of why. Like, why did it have to happen? And why did it take so long for it to be figured out? But you can't really dwell too much on what has happened. Focus really on what's going to be happening next. So I got my life back and you're just moving forward from there.
And you didn't dwell on it because the conviction's overturned,
Yeah.
and then you realize, okay, I'm going to go on with my life. What do I want to do? I want to play in the NFL.
Yeah.
So now you got to start training,
Yeah.
get ready for it, and hope that you get your shot. And lo and behold, you do.
Yeah.
Right? The Atlanta Falcons, 2013. Take us through that moment when you put that helmet on and you said, I'm going to get to play football in the NFL and live out my dream.
Absolutely one of the greatest moments and achievements in my life. That was dreams restored. Football was a dream that was taken away from me. It was a dream that I literally had to let go of when I was sitting in a cell, rotting away for years and years and years. I couldn't sit there and think about football after, what I had went through, knowing that it, more than likely wouldn't be a possibility in my future. But being able to walk out on that field with my team, the Falcons, the camaraderie, the brotherhood, everybody patting you in the back and telling you this is your moment, this is your time. The smoke and the flames in the air as you run out. Just the whole feeling itself was just, I made it, I did it. And I remember tweeting my mom and telling her, I said, regardless of what happens after this moment, we did it, and so I was thankful for
What was that first hit like? Because that's, people ask me all the time, what do you miss most about football? I miss the violence. I miss that.
Same here. I'm the same way. I still, if you ask me what I miss about football, it's the contact. You don't get that kind of contact anywhere else. So I think just to finally get out there and hit with the guys, man, it just took me back to those high school days, back to Long Beach Poly.
Did you take some? I'm sure you had some built up anger,
You
frustration, all of that.
already know.
Just to unleash hell on your teammates.
Yeah, I wanted to go out there and perform my best. I wanted to really let off all that steam that I've been keeping up for so long, and then obviously try to keep up with those young guys out there. I was a 28-year-old rookie, you know, running around with the 22-year-olds. So it was fun, man. I had a great time.
And now you're sharing your story with the world in this movie that's going to be released. And I'm looking at it. We saw the clip. It was great. This is star-studded. I got to tell you, your lawyer, Justin Brooks, is played by Greg Kinnear.
Yeah.
And you are played by Aldous Hodge, who we've all seen in Straight Outta Compton, of course, among countless other TV shows and movies. How involved were you in the production process? How important was for you to get the message sent across the way that you wanted to? Just give us a little insight on that experience.
Well, I was actually on set the entire time they filmed the movie. So we filmed the entire movie in Memphis, Tennessee. And what we would do is we would wake up every morning. I would look at the call sheet and what we were filming that day, and I would sit with the actors and basically give them insight, you know, information as to how things really went down, what that felt like, what the emotions were in those moments. And then I stepped back and let them do it. And what was awesome is that collectively they all said that they didn't want to act these roles, they wanted to become these roles. And I think that's really what meant a lot to me, to hear that they wanted to make this as authentic as possible. So having me on set was ideal.
So you and Aldous spent a lot of time together.
Yeah, I trained him. I helped him put on about 15 pounds over a few months. Yeah, I mean, just to bulk him up for the role. And I mean, throughout that time of just being in the gym, you know, when you're in the gym, you know, gym is almost like therapy. So when you're in there and you're pushing the weight, you know, all of this unnecessary steam will just kind of come off you, and you talk about things. So we were able to be vulnerable in that moment, talk to each other in that moment, learn about each other. You know, Aldous has had an interesting life himself. He's been through a lot of mess himself. So just to hear about his story and me telling him about mine, it really brought us together and created that synergy.
Right, before you go, you paid a terrible price. You had something taken from you. But now this movie could maybe do some good. Maybe could inspire some people. When they go to see Brian Banks this weekend in theaters, what's the message you want them to take away about your story?
I think what's most important for me is to not allow one moment in time to dictate the duration of your life. We will all experience things of the unwanted, of the unexpected, but it's how you allow it to affect you and what you do moving forward that determines what happens next. So it's important that people become self-empowered, to know how strong they are and know the capabilities that they have to survive those tough moments in life, but also to be aware and informed about our flawed judicial system. It's not perfect. It's not a failure, but it's not perfect. And there's a lot of things that we can collectively come together to make changes towards. And one of those things being is wrongful convictions. There is nobody on this planet that I can think of that disagrees with the idea that no one should be put behind bars for a crime that they did not commit. As we do this interview, there are men and women and children in cages for crimes that they did not commit. So the idea of that we want to, you know, we have a system that we want to protect the victims of situations. Every time we put an innocent person behind bars, all we do is add to that victim's list. And so these are things that we can no longer sweep under the rug. I experienced it, my family experienced it. I lost a lot from it. And so now it's my obligation and duty to pay it forward, turn around and help others in similar situations.
Thank you for being so vulnerable and coming here and sharing that. We, I think, could all be inspired by that message, to not let one moment define our lives, good or bad. It's just one moment in time, and that will put me in a theater this weekend to see Brian
I've seen
Banks.
this.
I hope so.
for being
Thank you
here.
so much. Yeah, I
Yes, good
appreciate
luck
it.
with
The
everything.
movie looks great.
It's awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
More Good Morning Football on the way. Let's send it over to Will Selva. He's in the newsroom in Culver with more.